everybody, right? So for part 3 of my entire series, right, of how I actually share my entire step-by-step guide into building a profitable and lucrative lifestyle business, right, I'm going to share with you my entire complete sales and marketing game plan and how can you design it yourself as well. So this is my entire complete beginner's guide for growing a lifestyle business, right, using content, sales scripts, right, DMs, right, chats, right, and you get entire live case studies, right, scripts and templates that you can apply and implement, use for yourself. So take note, right, for you to really maximize this training, please implement, take action. Let us know if you have a question in the chat, right? You can download the entire ebook in the guide, right, that we have in the description below. And with that, I'll see you very soon. Alright, so now we're at stage 3, right? We're going to talk about creating a sales and marketing system. Right, so remember, right, even with the greatest product or service in the world, right, it will mean nothing if you don't actually let people, more people know about it. So majority of people do this by spamming their friends, social media platforms, writing content is very effective, right? This is really because they don't have a system that can help them to consistently and predictably generate traffic, leads, and sales. And we'll talk about today, right? And where is it? Daily posting, cold message, in-person meetings, so on and so forth, and this is what we'll be covering in this section. So take note that this entire stage is not exhaustive. I actually selected a couple of ones. It will be quite comprehensive as well, right? There are a couple of more technical tips, for example, like referrals, right, affiliates, right, ads, right, we won't cover, right, because these are things that what I realized has really built the foundations, right, to skyrocket income. And then, of course, if you want to talk about more tactical tips and whatnot, right, we can address that, but this will be the fundamental strategies that we're going to use to support you moving forward. All right, so with that, number 1, right, is what we call building an organic marketing system. So when starting out, right, you won't have many people who are ready to buy from you, right, as no one knows or trusts you yet, right? So if you have already gotten some great progress, great, right? But usually for most people, right, not a lot of people, right, would be willing to buy from you initially. So all your effort here is going to be on nurturing people to buy from you. And so besides having a great offer, here are the 3 must-have ingredients you must have for anyone to buy from you. Number 1, credibility, right? So do people really trust you, right? Whether is it through your past experiences, your awards, your accreditations, right? Who you have learned from, who you have worked with, right? Your case studies, right? So there's credibility. Number 2, expertise. So expertise, right, is not just in terms of, oh, I know that you've received all these awards, right, all these accreditations, right? Can you really back up your claims, right, with for me to take a look about how good you really are? So it can be you sharing your perspectives, your strategies, your opinions, right, giving tips, giving value, right? How can you actually highlight the expertise, right? Not just in terms of showing how good you are, but actually demonstrating it as well. Next one, connection. Right, so again, right, you might be great at what you do, right, both in terms of credibility and both expertise, but if people don't feel that they connect with you, so today's world, right, people really want to buy from who they connect with, especially in the info coaching services space most of the time. So people want to feel that they can vibe with you, they might like you as a person, right? So one of my favorite tactics, right, over here is what I call JK5 method. It's learned by this lady called Jenna Kutcher, one of the top affiliates for Tony Robbins as well. We're in the same leaderboard, right? And what she does is to use this thing called JK5 method. We use to share the different areas of your life, right, especially in the B2C space, right? B2B works as well, right? To let people know not just, right, about your business or what you're offering, but also different areas of life, so that if they can connect you with the person as well. So with that, right, just to take note, some of you might be realizing that you're actually experiencing results a lot slower, right, because you've already built up with these ingredients above. So I'm going to give a very quick example. So there's one very well-loved trading mentor, right, in Singapore, right, who's doing very well, has been teaching trading for the past 10 plus years, right, and when he writes a post called Good Morning, all he does is Good Morning. He gets maybe like hundreds of comments, 200 likes. But when one of my client, right, recently tried something like that to say like, good morning everybody, right, he got me like 5, 7, and he was like, why is that? And so one to realize is that because, right, for the first person, he has really demonstrated that level of credibility, expertise, connection with people, right, that people really connect with him immediately as compared to someone who's starting out. So for those who do not have that level of experience results you want from the start, don't fret. With enough time and effort, you'll be able to achieve the results as well, but you need to have patience to keep taking action, and this is what we call lead nurturing. So another advanced but more extremely powerful strategy, right, we help all our clients to install for themselves, will be to help them get clear on their beliefs that make it more likely for their target audience to buy, will be about this beliefs exercise. So what we actually do, right, again, issues of time, right, there's a lot of stuff we want to cover, right, today, right, would be to actually list down all the beliefs that they want to have their prospect to have about them and to not have, right, for them to be more likely to buy. And this can be beliefs about you personally, the founder, right, the team, the solution itself, the system, the process, the framework, right? Themselves, that means the prospect themselves, because sometimes they might believe all this looks good, but I can't do it. So what kind of content, right, or kind of message can give, right, to make them believe that they actually have a chance to achieve? And the beliefs about other solutions. For example, right, beliefs about me, right? I want you guys to believe that I am very client success focused, right? I hopefully want you guys to not believe that I'm someone who have very little experience and doesn't know what I'm talking about, right? My solution, right? I want you to believe that my solution is the way to get sustainable, consistent, effective results, not just in the short term, but the long term as well. So that's just an example, right? Themselves, I want people to believe that as long as they desire, right, to do it, right, as long as they're willing to have faith to keep taking action, they can achieve it. All the difference is all just about time, right? I want people then to believe in themselves, right? It's never about how realistic or unrealistic the goals are, it's always about the timeline, right? I also want them to believe other solutions that, in my opinion, and I do believe that, I only share with what I really believe, that other solutions usually are very generic, they are not very personalized, right? Or they only share like one or two aspects that's important, but they are not holistic, right? So these are one people to believe or to know about other solutions as well. Okay, so take note, this alone can get extremely powerful. If you want, you can you can apply a call, right, with us. We can help you to craft it out. They'll be extremely powerful together also. Okay, so please note, we will not be covering strategies like outbound messages, calls, and ads in this training, right? So please take note of that as well, right? Again, these are usually for those who are already doing multiple 6 or 8 figures, right? So for example, right, I'll be running ads, right, as you tell this video already, right, or very soon, right? And so in short, I would say that most of this, right, at the same time, even if I'm running ads, I'll still be doing whatever I'm going to share in this section, was so freaking important for the consistent long term also. Okay, so the first thing to talk about is what we call hyper growth content. And here's the very big harsh truth, that most people out there will not care about what you have to say. So sometimes bringing a bazooka to a knife fight is the only way to succeed. So I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, which is to write generic content that doesn't really work. So if you want to grow your reach and engagement in a very short period of time, you cannot do what everybody else is doing. So while there are many different categories of posts and content you can make, here are my top 3 favorite categories of posts that have been proven to achieve 80% of the results of my clients, right? And so I recommend posting this when you're starting out, to just post these 3 types of posts every single week for maximum results. That means not to overthink the million different types of posts you can create. You can write these 3 different types of posts every single week, right? Together maybe with an offer post, right? I guarantee you, right, you'll actually do pretty well. Okay, so number 1, right, is what I call leverage posts. And this is something that have helped me to skyrocket my growth and my reach in a very short period of time. So in the world of content creation and social media, right, leveraging the authority and expertise of others can significantly improve your engagement and reach. This can work extremely well because people are extremely interested and willing to learn about them already. So for example, right, most people won't care about what I have to say about success, right, in the entire world. But if I say this is what Obama has to say is the biggest ingredient of success, this is what Tony Robbins, right, Bill Gates, right, Elon Musk, right, then people get to be a lot more interested in that. So what I can do, instead of just saying about myself, right, I can say this is what I've learned from Elon Musk that's helped me, right, or that's helped millions of people achieve great amount of success. And that might usually get a higher likelihood of people reading it. Okay, so there are 3 different levels to this, right, about leveraging for people who are already well established, whether it's celebrities, athletes, and whatnot, right? And so this number 1 is about highlighting the giants you have learned from, right, your certification awards, right, completed courses. So for example, you can say this is the biggest thing I learned from for me, right, my business school, right, which is one of the top in Asia, right, in Singapore, right? So this is what the one biggest lesson I learned from business school that's helped me to grow my business as well. So again, people are not going to care too much about me, but I'm interested to find out what did I learn from my business school, right? Or this is what I learned from, let's say, X Factor, right, which I invested about $30,000 to learn, right? And so when I highlight what I've learned from all my courses, my awards, right, then people tend to actually listen to me. Number 2 is to share my insights from the lessons, the books, the videos, courses, events, workshops, right, my observation, my experiences. This is what I learned from their insights, their perspectives, and I'm sharing with all of you, and I add my own things as well. So one thing to note for level 2 is you don't want just to be known as the summarizer. If not, I just get a book summary service, right? I want to share my own perspective and insights. How can it relate to me, and how can I potentially relate to people who are my target audience as well? And so this also not only does that to demonstrate my commitment to learning, right, showcase my ability to distill information, and provides unique perspectives to my audience as well, right? And next one, level 3, right, sharing my lessons, my experiences, or behind the scenes stories from partnerships, collaborations, interviews, jobs, internships. So for example, right, there was one post I did, right, where I was still working with Asian Buffetologist John Xia, right, and I was actually sharing about what did he teach during the private workshop that he was conducting for a lot of our clients, right? And so that got a lot of engagement and views, right, because it got them to see a bit of a behind the scenes view, right? Rather than just what is being in the public all the time. So there are three different levels that you can use, right? To if you're starting out, extremely powerful posts. So let me go a bit deeper, right? About how I was #1 affiliate for Tony Robbins 2019, for those who didn't know the story. So what I realized is that, so they gave all of us a link, right, to refer people for this 2-hour webinar, right, that people could not, then they will promote the offer during that 2-hour event. And what I did, because the link is the same for everybody, right? They have like people like Brandon Bashar, big, huge people, they got the link. So I'm like, why would people sign up for my link if they don't even know me, right? And how can I get more of them to sign up for my link? And what I offered for people is, hey guys, if you have not, right, if you have registered already, no problem. But if you're afraid that you don't have enough time, or you can't pay attention, or you're not very good at writing notes, what I'll be doing is, right, if you just sign up for my link, it's free anyway, I'll be writing out my entire notes from the 2 hours training, and I'll be sharing with everybody who registered for my link. And so then I got a lot of people who register for my event, right, for the 2-hour, my link, right, for 2-hour event. And that's why a lot of people bought from my link after that. And again, nobody would care about me at that point of time, right? Because I went to forums, YouTube groups, right, Facebook groups, right, DMs. Most people won't care about me because that time is zero experience. But what people care, right, is the summary of the notes. So this is a little bit of level 2. And that got me a lot of signups as well. So just give you a bit of idea about what this can do for you. And there are a lot of sample posts that you can check out over here as well. Okay. So next thing, news jacking. So one of the best things you can do is to gain lots of engagement, right? Is to really find out what are the hottest pieces of news. That means you are again, this is a bit like leverage, but it's not leveraging people, you're leveraging news and topics already. So always think about how you can relate it to your own business, right? For sure. So don't just write about news. So for example, right, earlier in 2023, there was the Amber Heard Johnny Depp story. So if for let's say if you're running a test cleaning business, it's gonna be quite tough, right, for you to think about how can you newsjack, right, there, unless you can write a meme and stuff about it, right, which could work as well, right? But what you basically want to do, right, is to find out the hottest piece of news at a point of time that might be relevant to your audience, and then think about how you can relate it through a lesson, a strategy, and whatnot. So the couple of steps, #1 is I identify what's the hot piece of news. Is it a GST increase? Is it elections? Is it Great Resignation, right? Next one, I will try to find out what are the common views on the ground, right? So, for example, diets are bad, right, or great right now, right? GST increase is bad, right? So, for example, there's one post I did, right, that I think 2021, if I'm not wrong, that the Luna coin, right, dropped about 99.99%, right? And so the common views of people are angry, upset, right, irritated, right? And in my post, right, actually you can look Luna Mark Theory, look on Facebook, right? What I did was, I went to, my first sentence was why I'm actually happy that I lost 99.99% of my value in Luna coin. And that got a lot of views, right? But what I did was I knew people were actually unhappy and angry, right? And then I started to assess, okay, what would be some reasons why people would be happy about it, right? So for me, I realized, okay, I'd rather make the mistake right now than make the mistake later, right? Because at least now I lose a certain amount. But imagine if this happened to me 20 years later, that'd be crazier, right? I'm grateful that that this lesson, right, reminded me the importance of diversifying. Or so fortunately, I did not put all in my money to Luna, right? So different like that, right? To tweak about how that current idea, right, might not be the most useful and empowering, and how can I switch it to something that is very unique and even giving actions that people can take to benefit moving forward. Okay, so bonus tips, right? If you're not too sure, you can always seek some feedback, right, as well. That's why we always give feedback to all clients. Don't be different for the sake of it. Make sure it's something that you truly believe will benefit others, right? Use the questions why, what if, when this not work, when they have alternative viewpoints. And, right, a big thing, right, in terms of the first sentence, right, we'll talk about hooks later, right? Would I read this if the one writing was a random stranger? So this is what I call news jacking. Find out hot pieces of news, right? If that's level 1, right? If you want to use to be a level 2, level 3, right? Think about what are unique perspectives I can shift, right? That might be different from what most people are thinking right now. Okay, so post number 3 is what I call attractive transformation posts, and these are some of my favorite types of posts, right? To use, and I do this is my most important pillar kind of post, right? In my current business right now. So why? Because it allows me to build all 3 essential ingredients, right? Actually, technically can give an offer if I do a PS as well, right? Credibility, connection, of expertise, while promoting my offer as well without being salesy. So this is basically sharing your experience from a place of struggle in the past, right? Not getting what you want, and then being able to achieve what you want, right? So doing your best to ensure whatever topic you're sharing is light to the business, right? So trying to make sure you're linked up. And so this is basically giving what I call a before after kind of post, right? So before, right? So for example, what I realized is a lot of, for example, property agents, financial planners, they love to keep writing about their awards, right? That they have learned, the events, the incentive trips, right? And that's to show the glitz and glamour, right? But what I realized the most powerful types of content are those that were able to, right, share, yes, their success and celebrate it, because they create some credibility there, but to also share their struggle, right, and their mistakes, their changes they made in the past, and they build some connection as well. But at the same time, they also share some of the lessons they have learned along the way, and that creates a little bit of expertise. So by creating all three, right, you're actually creating, right, not just for people to know that your awards, what you have achieved, right, the struggles you have gone through so they connect with you, right, personally, and the lessons you have given so they can give some expertise as well. So that's why I post this everywhere, right? Of course, I tweak it around, right? My favorite profile, my favorite groups, my IG stories, posts, LinkedIn's, right? Again, it's likely the most powerful tool in your arsenal you can immediately use. Okay, so take note, right? Before after photos should show an obvious visual transformation. If you can put photos always work well, right? When you put your pictures, right? If you can, and share what happened and what you felt. People want to connect with you. So besides saying, hey guys, I achieved my first $100,000, look at me, I'm so good, right? Versus, right, in the past, right, 2 years ago, I never thought this was possible, right? I was doing cold calling, right? People were telling me how much I would fail, people were doubting me, right? And so when you share such of that, right, you actually can inspire a lot of people, right? Build a lot of connection and credibility as well. Okay, so even if you haven't achieved remarkable milestones, right, you can share the transformation can be in terms of personality, right, or traits as well, right? So for example, right, it can be, let's say you're just starting on a journey. Why I was a lazy, unmotivated, how I was able to become an unmotivated lazy kid to someone who is driven, consistent, and waking up at 10 a.m. ready to do their work every single day. Alright, so that can be also. So avoid being self-critical about this, right, and always think about not just about yourself, right, but think about how can you add value to people. Okay, and again, there's this exercise that I do with people called 20 coolest things as a way to brainstorm ideas. So you can write this down, right, which is, hey, what are 20 coolest things about you right now in your life in terms of accomplishments and personalities and traits. Okay, to go a lot deeper, was I do want to add some value, right? So what's your result, right, that you have achieved, right? The elements, the challenges you have to overcome. Why do you decide to keep going? How do you overcome the challenges eventually? So this is when you share your lessons. What lessons and lessons do you learn? And what action, right? So they can be a PS, right? And then you can do an offer as well. You can look at some of my posts as an example. Okay, so a couple of probing questions here for you, right? They can take a look at, right? And for you to craft your post. And then again, you can look at some sample posts that we have as well. Okay, so some quick tips on copywriting, right? So now we're talking about crafting your content, right? So while this guide is not meant to be a course of copywriting, but I'm giving you the entire system, right? Here are 2 tips that work very well for me. Number 1 is to always focus on the hook. Always focus on the title, right? So the most underrated portion of writing a great post has always got to do with the hook, right? The first 1 to 3 lines. So even if a high quality post with great value, right, people might not read further if they're not attracted or curious enough to consume it. So you always want to maximize the probability of people reading it with a very great headline. Okay, so 5 great types of hooks that you can use and try out for yourself, right? Number 1, questioning commonly held beliefs. So there's one big post I wrote, right, which is why I disagree with Elon Musk. There's another post I wrote with why I disagree with Tony Robbins, and there got me like 500 different comments. Right, a lot of people who had a lot of views about it. All right, contrasting points, putting 2 typically different ideas together. All right, so why an argument my wife will actually make me happy and overjoyed in my life. So again, right, 2 ideas that you don't usually link together, right? If you're able to do it, right, that can be pretty powerful as well. Unexpected personal events, right? So again, you can be celebrating awards. That is actually a hook as well. People want to celebrate with you, right? Going through your struggles, right? Or just sharing about you being retrenched or you struggling, you failing, right? That tends to work very well as well. So awards, achievements, right? Depending on how you want to tweak it. Right? Again, news checking, leveraging. Again, I talked about that earlier already. So if you talk about this is what I learned. This was my biggest lesson I learned from an 8-figure entrepreneur. Right? This is the biggest lesson after more than $10,000 worth of investing in my programs. Right? So if you're leveraging from either well-known people, right, or news checking big pieces of news, that will help allow a lot as well. Okay, and this also linked to a bit of compressed numbers, right? This took me 20 hours to read, and I've summarized it into 7 big pages. Again, share from your own insights and perspectives, right? Because if you just don't be just known as a book summarizing service, because that's one of the worst things you want to do. So make sure you use a bit of I so that people can relate to you personally. Okay, so this first number tip, right? Focus a lot of hooks. Number 2, modeling after others, right? So what happens is I hardly ever face writer's block, because what I do, right, is since for a very long period of time, I've created a folder, right, called Save Messages on Telegram, and I just copy and paste the content that I find attractive, useful, the good hooks, and just keep putting it over there, right? And so what happens is, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, there's always a save function. You can also save it there as well, so you can refer to in the future. And this works for videos also. So whenever I need some inspiration to write or create content, I just look through all this saved content and pick one for me to write and model after. So take note not to copy, but to model after. So this allows me to help me to do to improve very fast, because I'll be able to look through the content I like, I'll analyze it, I'll write it to my own style, and that helps me to get better very little also. Okay, so all this, right, wouldn't be possible, my growth in content writing, because I wasn't very good as well, right, if I did not get consistent feedback and support. Right, that's why again many of my clients submit their content to me. Right, again, if you want daily support, more content, templates, examples, right, for me to craft it out even further, right, you can apply to speak with my team or myself here. We give daily feedback and support for all our clients. Okay, so now you're thinking about the organic marketing in terms of content, right? We'll talk about generating traffic. So again, there are 20 million ways to generate traffic, right? But introduction of essential terms, right? So traffic you borrow, right? There are 2 types, right? Number 1 is traffic you borrow. That means the traffic you cannot control when you want people to read the post, right? So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, right? Whether people read your post is always determined by the algorithm. Whether is it through your friends, the quality of the post, right? The big thing is you cannot control. So that's why I call traffic you borrow. In the starting, you do want to leverage on it as much as possible, but your main game plan is to transfer it over to what we call traffic you own, which is growing your reach on platforms that you control, right? That means you decide when people want to see the post, whether it's your WhatsApp broadcast list, email list, right? SMS channels, right? WhatsApp, Telegram channels, right? So you decide when, right, you actually send out. So this is what I call traffic that you own. So main game plan is always transfer it from traffic you borrow all the way to traffic you own. So these are the 3 systems, right, I personally use to generate content for the past 5 years, right? So number 1, right, is a very simple, just adding connection and friends, right? Adding those you have mutual connections with, adding those who have engaged with you maybe on Facebook groups, right, online groups, right, offline events, just adding them. Again, you don't need to go and like message them, spam them, try to sell them the first message. That's usually a cause of disaster, right? What you do is, right, just add them. You can just say, hi, great to be connected with you. Don't try to sell too much because people may be very skeptical, right? But just over time, right, nurture them, right, get them to be interested in you through your content. So this is what I've been doing for the past 5 years, which are add friends, right? The most I just say, hi, right, good to be connected with you, right? I hope to catch you around, right? And then through my content, because they see my content, which is doing pretty well, and I give a lot of value, over time, they'll be interested to buy my offer. Okay, so this is number 1. Number 2, right, commenting, engaging other people's posts, right, typically working for thought leaders, influential profiles, Facebook groups. So if you're a newcomer, right, try to make a first impression by actively engaging, commenting, right? And what you want to do is, right, always engage people and ask them questions as well. Don't just give generic comments like this is great, blah, 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 right, which doesn't work too well. Okay, so what you're going to do, right, is one of the best things you can do to create engagement so they can add them as friends after is to ask them questions, right? And ask them questions with comments to further discussion. And for people you've interacted with, you can always add them as a friend, all right? And that leads back to system number 1. Okay, so remember the goal is get more people to see your comments, get them to like your real post. So what I do is I always add people who like my posts in Facebook groups, right? My communities, my networks, I always want to add them, right, as well. Okay, and the third way, which is leverage and collaboration, my favorite way to skyrocket my growth. Okay, so what I do is as I share my lessons, my interviews, my insights, right, what I do is I think about how can I post some of my valuable insights, right, into other groups, or can I tag the person, right? Can I tag the person so that his own audience see this post as well, right? In communities, right, that I feel is relevant. And so the more I do it and the more they like my post, they find it great and they comment it, they reply it, right, I'll actually start adding them as friends, especially if they're relevant people. Okay, so again, question post works very well as well, right? To create, alright, use a solid color background as a single question is relevant to your audience. Okay, so this is one of the most powerful things, right? Example, I'm curious, do you all believe that you need to wake up at 5 a.m. to be successful in life? Okay, so these are ways to create some engagements. So Besides sharing on your profile, remember to tag them, share those posts to their Facebook group, get more reach and traffic, right? Collaborative posts, right? So there are different ways, right, to create. If you can just leverage through connections, interviews, right? I always interview people on YouTube channels, right? I then post it on the groups, right? So these are different ways for you to collaborate, right? And having conversations with them to potentially conduct guest workshops, right? Interviews will be extremely useful as well. So doing all three, right, is actually what allowed me to grow my organic traffic pretty well, right, in the long term. Okay, so this section, right, is what's the one missing ingredient for most people, right? So not everybody teaches this, right? But what I realized that traffic and lead nurturing it works, right? The system we created, we actually consolidated what people have paid tens of thousands of dollars to learn, right? But one thing we feel that people can use a lot more of is what I call launch campaign, right? So in today's highly stimulated world, right, it's going to be very unlikely for people to wake up one day to say, hey, I want to buy Mark's services. I want to buy this, I want to buy that, right? It's not very likely, right? Very rare, right? It still works, but very rare. So what you want to do is you want to provide your potential clients with multiple regular opportunities to consider working with you. So the launch campaign of the day, right, is a very simple process, which is what I call the small yes to a big yes process. So for example, instead of asking, hey, who would like to buy from me? I will always ask, right, who like a free bonus gift, right, that people actually pay good money for and give it as a value. And that's like my first step to and then from, let's say I give to 100 people, right, from there, right, maybe 10, 20, 30 people, right, might have the opportunity to work with me as well. So for example, right, if people were to download, let's say my 40 action plan, right, when you complete the form and you buy, right, besides just downloading my entire thing, which I give a lot of value for, I might ask, by the way, from a scale of 1 to 10, right, will you be interested for me to work with you through attending my workshop? Right, so that is a small yes to another yes. And from the workshop, right, I might invite the right people to join my program, right? And so this is what we call a small yes to a big yes, right? Usually, again, I said again, most of the time in today's world, right, people won't just suddenly want to buy a program, right? Unless it's a very low ticket as well. Okay, so and this is what I call ascension, right? A small yes from free to maybe free or paid, right, to something that take less time, and then maybe eventually paying the program for you. Okay, so note that there are different types of launch campaigns. So the problem is, right, there are different types, and when you're doing it organically, right, you can actually test out different ones to see what works for you over time. All right, so what I do is about 1 to 2 times max per month, right? So for example, it could be a survey campaign, which I always recommend most of my clients to start off first, right? For reasons I mentioned in stage number 2, right? Link magnet, like PDF guides, video trainings like this, sometimes it can be a video training as well, right? It can be a workshop campaign. That means I invite you to a free workshop or paid workshop if I have enough credibility already, right? It can be a beta offer, right? That means, right, for example, hey guys, for the next 48 hours, I'm actually launching a beta offer. You only pay $10, right, or $50, right, or $500, depending on the price point, right? Give it very irresistible cheap offer, right? And then, right, but it will only be available for the next 72 hours. By the way, right, if the result, you don't get the results right after working with me, I get you all the money back because I'm still testing out. So that's what I call a beta offer, right? All I ask is your feedback testimonials. Okay, a launch of a group, Telegram group, that's another way, right? A discount price increase campaign, right? So for a bit more advanced people, more experience, right? Then we can help them to craft discount or pricing campaigns, and then 48 hours for exclusive product campaign as well. That means after 48 hours, they will not have access to the product anymore. Okay, so step by step to design, right? So number 1, you want to create what I call your free irresistible offer. So we talk about offer stage 2, right? But take note that you want to create the free irresistible. Right, sometimes can be paid for more advanced one, but for most people starting out, I do recommend a free one if you can. Right, so benefit of doing so, you can increase your following. So when they register for it, you get to increase your email list as well, which is traffic that you control anyway. Right, you get to build credibility by adding a lot of value, highlight expertise for potential clients, right, to show that you're giving something very wonderful and great. Right, fostering connection with those who consume your content, and you follow up with potential buyers who might have stopped replying to you. This is a re-engagement campaign as well. So it can be different types. It can be guides, checklists, case studies, right? Videos, templates, right? Workshops, right? Can be different types. So how do you make it extremely attractive? So this is a bit linked to stage number 2, but these are just some very quick ways, right, to be able to do it. Okay. Okay, so how to make it, right? So number 1, leverage, right? So again, right, I can say this is what I spend, right? This is what I learned from my $10,000 worth of mentors, right? Here, etc., right? So that will help you to do it. So for example, in 2020, right, before COVID, right, I actually paid about $5,000 to attend a business event called Fun Hacking Live, right? And together with 2 of my mentors, right, at the point of time, Gabriel, right, Resh, right, we got about 2 days worth, I think about 600, 700 people to come for our workshop event, because we're just sharing basically our lessons learned, right, from Financing Life. And for me, it was pretty big, right? Pretty huge, because nobody really knew who was I at that point of time. But because I attended the event there, right, I was able to share my lessons inside, and that created my list, my following as well. Okay, so effort, time and effort. So sometimes you say, hey, these are my best lessons from my past 10 years of experience, right? Took 6 months to produce, blah, 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 right? So again, for this 4-stage action plan, right, basically this is really what my best lesson for the past 5 to 6 years of not just my business, but my side hustle as well, right? All my mistakes, right? It took quite a couple of hours, a couple of weeks to actually produce. All right, relevant timelines. It can be hot topics as well. So best crypto stocks to invest in right now is a very simple example, right? If you don't do it, right, how can you leverage on the AI trend right now? People are always using it also. Okay, and bundling. My take is, what I love is very underrated is, instead of just using like giving one thing, can you give like 2 or 3 things together, right? That can actually be pretty powerful also. Okay, so next one we're gonna do is promote it. Right, so what you can do is write a valuable post with a call to action at the end, inviting folks to comment. Again, you can look at my posts for examples as well, right? And if you're starting out from scratch, my thing is just go straight for a campaign offer, right? Just say, hey, I'm actually creating a XXX book, a guide, right? Right, 111, right? I'm actually creating a book, right, that I want to combine my experiences, but before that, I want to make sure that I give the most amount of value. Is okay, I do a quick 3-minute survey with you first. Okay, so DM friends who already know, right, have engaged with you, right, and you can do it multiple times if needed. Right. One thing is, what I realized is you actually do have to finish your offer before promoting it. You can actually do it as a pre-launch, right? If it's free, right, that's fine, right? Because it's free, right? But you say, hey, I'm actually completing right now. Anybody wants it, right? I'll send it to you first, all right? So that gets a lot of people also. Okay, so when I send it, right, one thing you know is one of the worst things I did when I was starting out is I gave people the link directly to the link magnet, the video and whatnot. But one thing I did not do, right, is that I should be collecting their emails as well. Again, I'll put my traffic that I control. So what I do right now is anytime I offer something for free, right, I always want to DM them the link of the form to access the free offer. Right, so again, it'll give the name, the email contacts, right? And again, all this is actually linked to stage number 2. If you remember that we're trying to target the audience demographics, right? The stage that best describe them, right? And what I'll do is I'll recommend for you, right, to actually ask these 2, right, your top 3 problems and challenges, top 3 biggest goals, right, for me to get them know better. And, right, a bit optional, if you want to put there, which is, hey, by the way, right, besides the book, I'm actually conducting a workshop on XXYY. Will you be interested if I signed up? So obviously, right, we help our clients to go through a lot deeper to craft their exact survey, right, in terms of the wording, the scripts, right, in terms of how to leverage it, how to make it more attractive to get more people to say yes, right? But if you're doing it on your own, these are the things the essential elements for people to say yes to you. Okay? And the last thing is follow up. So one thing to know, right, is even if you DM people, when you promote your offer, right, your campaign, right, to people, right, some people might not have read the post yet. So number one, I will always highly recommend people to DM even if you're writing a post. Because why? Right, DM the people they feel that is most suited. They may have worked with you before, they've liked your post, right, like your value they've given. Always DM, right? I know it takes some time, right, but this is the most powerful thing that will work, right, that's within your control. Because you write a post, you cannot guarantee that you do well in the first post that you do. So you want to DM people, as many people as possible if you can, right? Not as a spam, right? But only people you feel is the right one, right? To say, hey, so and so, right? I know it's a bit random, right? But actually, over the past 2 months, I actually created an ebook, a guide on this XYY. And because, right, I know that you're also investing in this, or you're also interested in this, I felt that you might be interested to download this. Will you be keen, by the way? If not, no problem at all. Alright, so you send it to them, and usually what happens is not everybody will reply to you immediately, right? But what you can do is to drop a follow-up message, right? And I do it about maximum of 3 times. If you don't reply me after 3 times, I tend not to message them anymore. It just shows they're not interested or they just are too busy. Okay, so continue being patient, post content, and do the launch campaigns. So take note, right, over time, right, and this is what we build up for our clients as well, right? You should have a clear idea of what campaigns tend to work the most effectively for you. Again, do about 1 to 2 maximum every month. Is it offering a free workshop to offer? Is it a free workshop to one-to-one call and then do an offer? Is it you offer a free link magnet, you invite them to a workshop and then to your main offer, right? So there are different ways to do it, right? And again, it might get a bit confusing, overwhelming, but enough data, right, when you do a launch campaign, you realize that it works very well. right? And so again, in our very first call with all our clients, we actually craft the entire launch campaign strategy. So a lot of them actually can get some leads, right? Sign-ups, right? Sales, right? In a very short period of time. But this is the number one thing we actually help them to get clear on besides their overall strategy and purpose, right? So if you need some help, you can apply the team. If not, right, you can do it yourself. I guarantee you, right, even though you might not be perfect the first time around, you will get some results one way or another. Okay, so after you do a launch campaign, right? So after you do launch campaign, right, now we learn about generating traffic, learn about generating, nurturing your audience. Then we talk about sales, because why, right? If you don't even offer the thing for people to buy, right, people won't. And when you're starting out, unless you are already a trained copywriter, right? Unless you're a really trained copywriter, right? Again, it will be a little bit tougher for you to charge something that, let's say, is a few hundred or even a few $1,000s, right? Just by messaging people or just with sales copy, right? So unless you're a trained copywriter or you're someone writing for you. So what I realized when starting out, the best thing I love to do is to do either a one-to-one sales presentation or, right, a one-to-many sales presentation through offer, through a strategy call. However, I know that a lot of people, once I say sales call, people tend to find it as awkward, it's sleazy, it's not too good. Right. However, the system is sharing with you, right, that I've learned from many different mentors and coaches, it'll not only feel simple and easy, but you'll do it without feeling awkward and pushy as well. So in fact, right, out of everything you do, right, this is one of the simplest and fastest lessons all my clients can pick up because of how simple it is to apply. And number one, right, is because we only be promoting the offer to people who we know are suitable and willing. If they're not, right, we can either reject them from the offer, right, as in we don't ask them for the call, or number two, right, is we don't offer them the product and service. Okay, so worst case, right, they'll leave the session feeling great about it, even if they come for my call and I don't want them to come. Because worst case, because I give so much value during the call, I'll talk about it, right, a lot of them leave me a positive testimonial review. So look at Master Letters Google reviews. These are all the people who have attended my calls. Not some of them don't do it in the end, right, but a lot of them that attend the one-to-one call with me, which I didn't offer the product or service, they will still write a positive review, right, because I give them so much value as well. Okay. However, before we begin the process, please remember that the easiest way to get more sales is to simply do more calls, right? Everything above will be for nothing if you don't focus on this most important thing. So remember, right, you can be the best salesperson in the world, but if you only have one sales call per week versus someone, average person have 10 calls per week, you will still lose out. So majority of entrepreneur sites, that's what I realized after working with so many clients and participants, is they do everything except for trying to book more calls or do more workshops because it's uncomfortable and uncertain. But remember, right, the more calls, the more workshops you do, the better results you eventually get. And this is especially important, right, if you're starting out. Okay? So with that, right, firstly, please remember the sales start before the call itself. So what we help our clients to do is also craft this thing called a pre-sales call process, right? Because as soon as someone books the call, right, you don't want to just your next point of contact is only for your prospect, right, to go to call with you. You want for them to understand you a little bit better, maybe a little bit about the product, right? Have a greater awareness of the goals and challenges, even before the call already begins. So this can include sending certain emails, right? Certain videos, right? Maybe a bit of a pitch deck, which we also craft together with our clients, videos, so on and so forth, right? So even if you're unsure of the above, remember, the more your prospect consumes your content, the more likely they'll buy from you. And this is what some people call the mere exposure effect or the 7-hour rule, right? The more they consume your content, whether is it and anything that create more credibility, more connection, more expertise, right, the more likely they will buy from you during the call itself. So remember, the sale happens before the call. Okay, so next one. The easiest way to maximize your conversion rates for every call, right, is to qualify and to disqualify the people who want sessions with you. And this is one of the biggest lessons I learned from my $30,000 mastermind, right, from Melvin So X Factor, which is you want to learn how to qualify and disqualify people. Right, so this means cancelling the scheduled call, right? For anyone who feel the right fit, you can refer them to someone else as well, right? For example, because you're trying to sell the best pork lard in the world, but if you're trying to sell to a Muslim, right, with all due respect, they won't buy, right? There's almost a zero chance they will buy, right? So personally, we cancel or direct our calls to someone else more suitable about 50% of the time, right? We only offer our solutions to about 50% of those who open our calls. So we are very curated about who we offer our program with, because we want to make sure we have the high levels of results. Okay, so for example, right, if 100 people apply to us, we only offer maybe opportunity to work about 20-25 of them. We have been increasing this number. We have been qualifying people a lot further, right? But yeah, this is something that we still do. We don't want to offer programs or services to people that we know that won't benefit from us. Okay, so other benefits from being more particular about qualifying every single prospect, right? Saving time, right? Having a higher chance of success, saving your time, position yourself as someone with standards. Okay, so the easiest way to do it is to include qualifying questions in your booking call link. So usually what I do is I have a Calendly link. If you can do it custom, that's fine as well, but Calendly is one of the easiest ways and it's free, right, as well. All right, the description of the Calendly, right, besides reminding, right, prospects about the benefits of the call, I also asset who is most suitable for, who should be not booking it, so on and so forth. Okay, so some of the questions you can ask, right, later that we example, you can check it out, right, yourself, right, with the details, the situation, the problems that I'm experiencing, the goals for the next 12 to 36 months, how urgent solving the problem is to them. So to make it easier, you can also add a couple of questions as a multiple choice. So for example, right, are you someone who has already started or is serious about starting your own program, your business? All right. So if you say you don't have and you don't plan to start one, so we immediately disqualify you, right? Because you are not the right person for it. But if you're serious about starting it or you're already running it, great, then we are qualifying you. Okay. So again, you can put an example over here. You can check it out. Okay. So with that, right, we're going to talk about how we conduct all my one-to-one calls such that even people who say no to, right, or reject us, right, will still find that session very valuable for us. Okay, so while we have a complete sales training and playbook we have give to all our clients, right, that will take too long. So I want to give some value to you. So this is the exact framework I've used to conduct all my one-to-one calls, right? Chris, my mentor, right, Mel, who calls it Doctor's Close, right? And I also combine it with learning from many other people like Alex Hormozi, right, Cole Gordon, right, all these sales strategists, right, as well. So very quickly, the main thing I want to find out, right, is really what's the problem and pain. Right, after setting a bit of rapport, right, what exactly I'm going through, what are they struggling with, right? Because why, even if I'm not trying to sell them, I want to find out what exactly they're going through so I can provide the best amount of feedback and support for them right after. Then I ask them, what exactly do they want to achieve? What are their actual goals and the outcome, right? And more importantly, I ask them, right, is this something that's even a priority right now? Because if it's not, right, hey, maybe you don't need to solve the problem right now. Right, so I might even invite them to join a session later. And the big reason why I'm able to give so much value, right, over here is this. I'll share my honest, direct feedback. And I want to remind people, right, that this is not for me to frame them to buy from me. No, when I give all my course, I give my 120% as if to my private clients because, right, hey, well, if you don't buy from me, right, at least one way or another in the future, maybe I'll refer someone, maybe you can partner in the future, right, or you might buy from me in the future, right. To me, right, it's about just being abundant and being authentic about helping people. Okay, so I add a lot of value to them without expecting anything in return, whether they work with me or not. Getting clear on this one portion alone is so important. They're not here to sell everybody, right, but to give a lot of value, right, to people. And emphasize you want to be genuine. Again, I'm emphasizing this. Okay, and only if I feel the offer is suitable will I ask permission to present, right? I ask permission because they're not interested, right, and just give the offer without them asking is even worse. When they don't feel good, so I ask the permission only if they feel that we are right fit. Okay, so if I did everything above well, right, he or she might likely say yes, especially if I give a great dumb to say no offer, right? But so this is just a very quick overall view about how I actually add a lot of value to all my people who book the one-to-one calls, and I instruct all my team to do so, which is I never want to call them as just pure salespeople, right? I want to call as consultants, right? People can actually give a lot of value whether you buy from us or not. Okay, so right, and of course similarly, right, if you want us to craft out the entire script, right, you want access to our playbook, right, with guaranteed results with feedback, right, we actually review and feedback your calls, right, you can apply to speak with our team over here. Okay, so a very quick bonus before I probably end off, right, this portion, which is harnessing the power of direct messages. So just share with you, right, whatever I've shared in this section, right, in this entire section of stage 3 has really probably taken me 4 years, right, more than 100 of hours of experiences and $70,000 to learn at least. So what I found to accelerate and your results and supercharge everything above is to use the power of direct messages, as I mentioned a little above. Okay, so just a very quick primer, right, on some best practices for DMs, right, and this can take hundreds of hours to learn again. I'll share with you the best strategies and practices that have worked best for me and my clients. So number one, right, is I actually categorize a lot of people in message, right, which is hot, warm, or cold. Hot are people who are more or less very interested to buy from you already, right? They're just waiting for the opportunity, right? Warm are people that maybe they have engaged with you, right, replied to you before, right, and they reject, and they might not have bought from you, right, but they've been engaging on content and getting your value. So constantly trying to see how they're doing, right, and offer, right, them with free resources. And cold people, I don't know who might not know you very well, and that's why, right, just having a very simple DM, right, just saying hi, introducing, not trying to sell yourself too much, but adding lots of content, right, will slowly, right, help them to become warm as well. So this is the overall view about cold, warm, and hot. Okay, so again, don't reply, right? Again, 1 or 3 reminders max over 3 days. And very big thing is do not send generic copy and paste messages, right? And if you are doing so, inform them why you're doing and why. So either personalize by adding their name or acknowledge that it's a general message for a specific group of people, right? Because for me, when I'm sending out a mass message, let's say when people indicate my interest, I have 150 people, right? I'll always say, hey, right, I'm sending you this because XXXYYY. Right, so this is a very good way for you to be able to still send messages with a high open response rate, but do it on a mass basis as well. Okay, very quick one, right? Focus on the conversation and not on selling all the time, right? So don't try to sell, right? It's a bit like dating. Don't try to sell on the first, second, third message. Build some interest, build some connection, make sure they're the right people in terms of their problems, challenges, their goals, what's the current situation, right? Know about on them before you can offer them maybe to attend a one-to-one call with you, maybe attend a workshop or to download a resource from you, right? So always want to come from a space of conversations rather than selling all the time. And how do you do it? Employ second positioning, like I talked about earlier. Okay, so putting all together, right? So I know this has been a pretty long process. Here are all what we have combined, right? What folks have paid thousands and dollars and years of experience to learn. So generating traffic, right? We talk about it, right? My 3 systems, right? Creating valuable content, the 3 kites, right? The leverage, news checking, right? And attractive transformation. Launch campaigns, right? Having a small yes to a bigger yes and tweaking about it, right? About once to twice maximum every month. Conducting sales calls, right? Coming from a space of not trying to sell, but trying to add value and only asking offer, right? Permission to give the offer if they want to, right? And how do you do it? Probing the pain, go very deep, right? Asking what their goals and then giving your honest and direct feedback. Okay, and how do you supercharge all of this, right? By promoting an offer, right? Reminding people that you're going over the call, right? You can always use DMs to catch up with all of them. Okay, so do spend some time, right, working on this entire section before proceeding the next steps. I guarantee we want the best thing to do for yourself. And again, if you want us to work with you, right, with guaranteed results, all you need to do now is just to apply to speak with our team over here. So with that, I'll see you on stage 4, right, of this entire 4-stage action plan for yourself.